question.
And sadly on this one, yeah, pretty much. I mean, we know obviously that's not all the children they had. They lived some, 700, 800, 900 years?
No, we don't obviously know that because the Bible doesn't say that.
Okay, once again, true. But we do know, later in the Bible, people were living that long.
Right.
So it stands to reason that up until the flood, everyone, or a little ways after the flood, but up until a certain point, everyone was living for hundreds and hundreds of years.
Okay.
So it stands to reason that they were having kids for a long time if they were aging really slowly.
Okay, I asked about Nod, and you're talking about the flood, okay?
Oh, sorry, yeah. I don't know.
In Genesis, it's Adam, Eve, Cain, and Abel. That's it. That's what it's talking about. In the first 4 chapters. Well, hey, if we read the Bible, okay. Now Cain kills Abel. That's what the Bible says. That leaves 3. Yes. That leaves 3. The Bible doesn't talk about no other humans being created. It doesn't talk about Eve having more children, although I'm sure she did. But when a person reads the Bible and they see that and go, wait a minute, how the hell did he find a wife in Nod? Where did Nod come from? Where did these people come from?
Well, I mean, I guess I can go off of is that if everyone was living theoretically 800 years, just use the ballpark number. If everyone lived that long, Eve had lots of time to have kids. Those kids have kids over hundreds of years. They spread out. He finally finds a wife. We don't know how old he was, how young he was. We only know that at some point he finds a wife. And since we don't have a timeline on that, we really can't say one way or the other as far as to when it happened.
Okay, so we're to once again look into the Bible and put our own interpretations and put our own thoughts into this infallible book that God gave us. Well, it's not a matter of
interpretations.
Sure,
it's just a matter of
it has to be
1 + 1 = 2.
No, but it has to be our interpretation, Lee, because it doesn't go. The Bible doesn't go into that detail. So we have to put our own interpretation on it. We have to go, well, we would think that they would have more people, and we would think that this would happen. But when a lay person like me sits down and reads the Bible, you can understand these questions coming about when the Bible doesn't go in detail.
Well, as far as the questions existing, yeah, I can understand the questions existing.
So when a person looks at that and goes, wait a minute, Cain laid with his wife or found his wife in Nod, that's the first mention of Nod. That's the first mention of there being any other people besides those 3. So I just wanted to get your thought on that. Okay.
I actually at one point played around with the idea about Genesis when it says he made the male and female, and then later he makes Eve from his rib. And as far as there being another woman before Eve.
Well, the Jewish tradition teaches of Lilith.
Yes, and I'm aware of Lilith.
Okay.
And also the whole vampire saga, they went off on that route, which was interesting.
Okay.
But,
so you would agree that Eve is Adam's second wife?
No.
So honestly, you don't believe in Lilith?
I don't know. The Bible that I was given, that I believe God gave to me, does not mention her. So I don't actually have an answer for that either.
So if we go back and we look at the original Hebrew and Greek and a Jewish Bible, and we go to the Talmud and all these different books, and we see Lilith, is that just something they kind of made up, or what?
I don't know.
Okay.
Honestly, because it's a fine line to try to walk. The way I see it, this is just my perspective. Okay, so I hope nobody thinks me heretical. Whoever's listening.
Okay.
I perceive the Bible, the one that we have today. I use a New American Standard Bible. I believe it to be the most accurate as per the manuscripts that we have. When I use that, I basically see that as this is God's word for the Gentile. That's why it's full of all the stuff with Paul. Paul was assigned to teach the Gentiles. It is the Bible for the Gentiles. Now, as far as what the Torah and the Talmud and everything else say, I've never studied those. I don't know what they say. I don't know the validity to them.
Were the Torah the first 5 books of the Bible?
Yes.
Okay.
It's just like they have a lot of stuff in the Jewish tradition that I've never studied it, and I have no idea. I can't read Hebrew to save my life. It's a bunch of squiggly lines to me.
Mm-hmm.
So without being an authority on the Jewish belief system, there's no way I could really formulate an opinion.
Okay.
But for me, I guess I look at it as what God gave me in the Bible is what am supposed to go off of.
Okay. Now, you believe that there was a talking serpent or snake that talked to Eve?
Well, it was a serpent before serpents had legs.
You mean
basically?
Okay, so you believe that a serpent had legs and were standing up, and then, as the Bible says, it made him wallow on its belly from then on. But it was a talking serpent, not a human, but an animal or some type of other, I don't know, reptile or something. So you believe that it actually spoke to Eve?
I do.
Okay.
Okay, if it actually spoke, why has there been no other serpents that have ever spoke before except for just that one?
And why,
let's see.
and why the hell wasn't Eve surprised that
that there was a snake talking
holy
to her?
hell is talking?
That actually is a good question. I don't know why she wasn't surprised. I would have been a little weary about a serpent that was talking to me. As far as to why the serpent spoke, it's because it was indwelt.
Okay.
By Satan.
Okay. Now, my next question to that is this. Who let Satan in the garden to speak through the serpent?
Well, God put Satan in the garden.
All right. So you agree that God put Satan in the garden to deceive Eve?
Yes.
You don't.
Well,
see,
I don't want to say that was for that sole purpose.
But you don't
and
see
yes,
that as a
it was
setup?
going to happen.
You don't see that as a setup?
No.
Right. So God created Eve. Then he created her to the point to where he would put a serpent filled with Satan in the same garden so that the serpent would talk to Eve. God, being all-knowing, knew that Eve would follow the serpent and eat of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. That's a setup.
As far as to why he put the serpent in the garden, I don't have an answer for that.
I don't care why. I just care for the fact that he did. And
I
that's a
do
setup.
think there was a reason for it. And
right, to deceive Eve.
I would not call it a setup, and I wouldn't say he did it for the purpose of her deception.
Did he know she'd do it?
Well, he knew she'd do it, yeah.
Right, so God created Eve knowing for a fact that she would fall?
Yeah.
So he created her with that knowledge.
Did he create her with that? Yeah, he did.
He created her with the knowledge that she would eat from the tree before she ever did it.
Yes.
Why would he do that?
And you don't see that as a setup.
Because she had to have free will. That's the reason he created all of mankind.
Hang on. So
I thought free will came after.
After the fall, right?
Yeah.
No, because they had to have free will to choose to eat the fruit or not.
All right. So, okay. Now, she used her free will to eat the fruit,
yes.
right? Now, Eve at the time had no knowledge of good and evil. She didn't know the difference between right and wrong because she hadn't eaten from the tree yet.
Correct.
How did Eve know what she was doing was wrong?
God told her not to.
But she doesn't.
But no. Time out.
She doesn't understand the
God
difference
did not
between
tell
right
her.
and wrong.
Time out. God in the
God
Bible.
told Adam.
God did not tell
Eve. Damn, you got
Sorry.
loud. Hold on.
Well, no, this is the one thing that I
know.
God did not tell Eve to not eat from the tree.
God told
He
Adam.
told Adam.
Right.
Yes.
So
correct. I misworded that.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
Now, Eve does not know the difference between right and wrong because she's eating from the tree of good and evil. She doesn't know the difference between the two. So
she does.
No, she doesn't.
Well, okay. Oh no, I'm sorry. She doesn't know necessarily the difference between right and wrong, good
right.
and evil.
So
that she does not know.
So how did she know what she was doing was
what
wrong?
Adam was supposed to tell her.
Right, but how did she know what she was doing was wrong?
Well, if God told Adam, I'm assuming Adam told Eve, and therefore that was her disobedience.
But we can't assume that because in the Bible it does not state that Adam told Eve.
We can't make assumptions.
We can't make assumptions on the Bible.
Well, it's not an assumption. It says the serpent deceived her. So in order for her to be deceived, she had to have some knowledge. He had to talk her into it.
Right, so that means God...
If she didn't know not to eat it, she wouldn't have been talked into it.
Right, so God put that knowledge inside Eve. He created her with the knowledge to deceive him, even though she didn't understand the difference between right and wrong.
But deception is evil.
Yes, it is.
But she didn't know that.
But right, so how can God punish her for eating from a tree that she didn't know she was doing something wrong?
But I believe it's not a matter of necessarily you don't have to know right from wrong. If I tell a child, don't do that, if I have a son, I say, don't do this, you're going to get in trouble, and he does it anyway. He doesn't know right from wrong, but he still knows I told him not to do it.
But God didn't tell Eve.
That's not what doing the right thing is. Doing the right thing is an obedience.
Right.
Well, as far as my child would be concerned, it would be.
I don't agree.
Okay.
Well, if I'm the parent and I'm an authority over him, then he is supposed to obey me.
Well, I'm not a parent, but let me ask.
I am a parent, and I would not set my child up that way.
Yeah,
like
Bob,
I wouldn't do it.
When you tell your kid not to beat up another kid, is it wrong because you're not beating up the other kid, or is it wrong because you told him not to?
Both. I understand right and wrong. He does not.
Right,
So
but
right
Eve
and wrong
didn't
is
either.
my reasoning for giving the order. His should only be whether he understands it or not to obey me because I am his parent.
Right, but Eve,
But Eve didn't know
either.
the difference between right and wrong, and she wasn't
Correct.
told. So how can Eve be
So-
punished for something that she didn't even know that she was doing wrong?
Well, she was still told not to do it.
No, by whom?
But Lee,
But she didn't. She
but
doesn't
Lee-
know. Even
She
if,
has to know.
no, she don't.
Even hold on. Even if we make the assumption, I'm
Disagree.
happy to make the assumption that Adam told her not to do that.
Okay.
But she still doesn't know that obeying Adam is moral, even though I don't accept that either. I don't believe that obeying Adam is moral either.
I don't know
had
about it
not,
being moral.
Lee, she had not eaten from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, which means she does not know the difference between the two. So she had no way of knowing that going against God was wrong because she has no knowledge of it.
Well, knowing
on,
the difference
Lee.
between good and evil and right and wrong, I make a distinction between them.
Come now, Lee. That's a
Well,
stretch,
look.
brother.
Killing people is evil.
Then why did God do it?
Well, that's God's prerogative.
So
Honestly.
Okay. Now, okay, so killing people is evil, but it's okay if God does it. If he killed millions, that's okay because he's God.
Well, I actually do have a answer for as far as to, because I heard you guys mention the whole God slaughtered people and everything and the numbers and whatnot.
Yeah, because you think that there's also another heaven that they're going to, so it's no big deal.
No. There's only one heaven.
Right. So it's no big deal if he killed the babies because the babies are going to heaven.
Well, they would be in heaven, yes.
Okay. Are the babies Jewish?
I don't know.
Well, chances are the mom and dad are Jews. We're talking about Jews here.
Well, as far as no, because the people that were
Israelites.
slaughtered. Well, I guess
Israelites.
it depends on what it is you're referring to.
Israelites were Jews.
Israelites were Jews, yes.
Right. So
But the people, like if you talk about the people of Canaan, they were not Jews, but their babies would be in heaven.
right. So it's okay if God kills innocent children because after all they get to go to heaven. That's okay.
It's a really kind of hard to really respond to when you phrase it like that.
Why? Because all I'm doing is saying the truth. If the Bible is true, take 1 Samuel 15:3. The Amalekites, God said, "Go in, kill every man, woman, child, suckling infant, even all the animals. Kill them
Yes.
all." What did the suckling infant do to deserve death?
It actually, and see, this is where we do go to what you were mentioning. It's an act of it saves them.
No. What?
Well,
Saves
because
them.
they're not able to grow up and be sinners.
Lee.
Children are not held accountable.
Lee, what is the age of accountability?
That's not for me to determine. That's kind of God's choice.
What do you think the age of accountability is?
It would be, well, I can't put a number on it.
Oh,
It's
give
the
me
point
one.
whenever
7
a
years?
child
8
becomes
years?
aware and understands right from wrong.
Right. So we'll just say that's 4 years old. Just
Oh God, no.
Okay. What is it then?
If I had to guess, I'd say somewhere probably around the age of 8 to 12.
Okay.
I don't know.
So why not go in there and go, you know what? Kill all the men, but all the children between the ages of 8 and 12, don't kill them. Bring them back, and we'll raise them in a godly way. They save them.
It was a matter of seed.
What?
The purpose was to weed out the seed of the Amalekites.
Right. So that's okay because God went in and killed children. That's okay because he didn't want the Amalekites no more.
In that situation, yes, he did not want them to be on the face of the earth anymore.
Right. So go in and kill innocent children that have done nothing wrong, but did the horrible thing of being born. Wow. That's sad.
And that is one of those
All right.
touchy subjects that it's kind of hard for me to.
Does it
It's
bother
hard
you?
to speak for God on a situation like that. I mean,
Does it bother
from
you?
my mindset, I don't know how to explain it.
Does it bother you?
Other than it doesn't bother me, no. And I know that sounds really, really bad.
It doesn't
especially
bother
based
you
on
that
what
he
just
killed
said.
innocent children?
I see them as he basically rescued them from having to be indoctrinated and become evil and being taken before they were sinful.